Lyra moved through the endless halls of the Grand Archive, her fingers brushing against the smooth, cool surfaces of ancient data panels. The archive was enormous, stretching across multiple levels, like a labyrinth designed to hold centuries of knowledge. Most of it belonged to alien civilizations that had colonized this planet long after humans disappeared. She had spent her whole life studying the remnants of a species no one believed existed anymore: humans. The stories of humans were always fragmented. Old holorocords showed faint, flickering images of men and women in strange clothing, wielding weapons and machines that seemed primitive yet oddly elegant. Written histories described humans as clever, resourceful, and fierce creatures that could survive almost anything. But the more Lyra read, the more she realized that every account was incomplete. Artifacts were broken, logs were damaged, and first-hand records were virtually non-existent. Humans had become myths, legends whispered in scientific circles, studied for curiosity rather than expectation. Lyra, the planet's chief archivist, had dedicated her life to the search for proof of human existence. She did not fully believe the stories herself, but she could not ignore the fragments. Every night, she lingered in the quieter halls, poring over dusty holobooks and holographic maps, imagining what humans might have been like. Another day. Another dead legend, she muttered to herself, flipping through a brittle page that showed the image of a human soldier, helmeted and holding a rifle-like device. The image was cracked and distorted, yet it sparked something inside her, a faint hope that perhaps the stories were true. The archive was silent, except for the hum of power grids and the occasional shuffle of Lyra's boots on the polished floor. She liked it this way. Silence allowed her to think. Silence allowed her to believe, even if only a little, that humans might have once walked among the stars. Today, however, she had been sent to a part of the archive she rarely visited, the storage wing. This section contained forgotten relics, old databanks, and sealed chambers that had not been opened in decades. It was quiet, almost too quiet. The lights flickered in a rhythm that seemed unnatural, and the air smelled faintly of metal and dust. Lyra's pulse quickened as she approached a chamber that had caught her attention in the system logs. The entry simply read, Unit X-482, Unknown Artifact. There was no other information. Normally, she would have ignored it, assuming it was just another mislabeled alien device. But something about the entry felt different. She crouched near the sealed door, her hand hovering over the control panel. The chamber's interface was ancient, far older than most of the archive systems. It hissed and whirred as Lyra ran her fingers across the symbols, trying to unlock it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a faint green light pulsed from within. Lyra froze. A pulse of energy, faint but undeniably alive, emanated from the chamber. Her mind raced. Systems malfunctioned occasionally, but this felt different. This felt intentional. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. It's probably nothing, she whispered, though she did not fully believe her own words. Curiosity won over caution. She pressed the final sequence to unlock the door. With a low groan, the metal panels slid aside, revealing a chamber bathed in soft, bluish light. Lyra's eyes widened. Inside stood a figure in armor ancient, yet perfectly preserved. The armor gleamed faintly, worn but unbroken, its design unlike anything she had seen in alien records. The helmet's visor was down, hiding the figure's face. The body was tall and solid, standing completely still, as if waiting. Lyra's heart pounded. She had seen images of human soldiers in old records, but this was real. She took a cautious step forward, her hand trembling. The pulse of energy she had felt now seemed to come from the figure itself. The chamber hummed softly, responding to its presence. Her voice caught in her throat. "Who are you?" No answer came. She tried again, louder this time. "Are you alive?" Still nothing. The figure did not move. It seemed as though it was frozen in time, yet somehow aware of her presence. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities. Could this be a highly advanced alien creation? A hologram? Or could it really be human? She circled the figure cautiously, examining every detail. The armor was covered in faint scratches, evidence of battles long past. Symbols were etched into the metal, almost like a language. Her fingers itched to touch it, to confirm that it was solid, real, alive. Finally, she did. She reached out, hesitated for a heartbeat, and pressed her hand to the chest plate. The moment she made contact, a surge of energy coursed through the room. The lights flickered violently, and the armor emitted a soft, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. Lyra stumbled back, her eyes wide. It was alive. Somehow, impossibly, the figure was alive. The helmet's visor slowly lifted, revealing a face frozen in a calm, neutral expression. Lyra gasped. The eyes beneath were sharp, intelligent, and human. Not alien, not synthetic human. The figure took a careful step forward, its movements deliberate and controlled. Lyra's mind raced. Humans were supposed to be extinct. All records suggested they had vanished centuries ago, wiped out by wars, disease, and disasters across the galaxy. And yet here was one, standing before her. "Who are you?" she asked again, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure paused, then spoke in a low, steady voice. "I am Kale. I have been asleep for a long time." Lyra's mind spun. "Asleep? You mean stasis?" Kale nodded slowly. "Centuries. I was preserved. I did not awaken until now." The truth hit her like a wave. Humans were not extinct. Not entirely. And if Kale had survived, perhaps others had too. The fragments of hope she had clung to her whole life suddenly felt real. She stepped closer, examining him. But why here? Why now? Kale's eyes scanned the chamber, alert and cautious. "I do not know. My systems indicated life. I was drawn here." Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. She had spent years cataloging human myths, reading stories of their bravery and ingenuity. Now, she faced the embodiment of those legends. And she realized that her life and perhaps the fate of the galaxy was about to change forever. "Can you move?" she asked, her voice trembling with excitement. Kale flexed his fingers, testing the armor's mobility. "I can, but I am weak. I need time to adjust." Lyra nodded. "I can help you. I will help you." She could hardly believe the words she was saying. She had prepared for this moment in theory, but the reality was overwhelming. A human, a real one, stood before her, and she was the first to witness it in centuries. Kale's gaze softened slightly, studying her with quiet intensity. "You are not like the others." Lyra smiled faintly. "Most people don't believe humans ever existed. I always hoped." For a moment, they simply stood in the chamber, two beings separated by centuries but connected by an impossible truth. Outside, the archive continued its quiet hum. Unaware that history itself had just taken a remarkable turn, Lyra realized that she was no longer just an archivist. She was now part of a story far larger than herself. A story that had been waiting for centuries to be told, and somewhere deep in her mind, a spark of excitement ignited. Humans thought to be gone forever had returned, and perhaps, just perhaps, they were about to change everything. The chamber hummed softly as Kale flexed his fingers, testing the mobility of his ancient armor. The sound was a steady, almost soothing rhythm, like a heartbeat echoing in the still air. Lyra watched him carefully, unsure how to proceed. Every instinct in her body told her to run, to leave this impossible being behind. Yet curiosity rooted her to the spot. "I can help you," she said again, her voice steadier now. "You need to regain strength. My name is Lyra. I study history. I might know how to help you." Kale's visor tilted slightly, giving her a glimpse of eyes sharp and alert. "Lyra, you are not of my time." His voice was calm, precise, and carried the weight of centuries. "Are you human?" Lyra shook her head. "No, not exactly. I am a descendant of alien colonists. but I've spent my life studying humans. I know their history, their battles, their lives, at least what's left in records. Kale studied her silently, then slowly nodded. You are different. Most beings would not help without fear or judgment. Lyra felt a small sense of pride. Fear. Yes. Judgment. Maybe. But humans are, I don't know, special. I always believed that. She looked down at her hands. I never thought I would actually see one. Kale's head tilted slightly. Then you have waited a long time. For a few minutes neither spoke. The hum of the chamber, the faint flicker of lights, and the subtle pulse from Kale's armor filled the space. Lyra's mind raced. Questions, 1,000 of them, clamored for answers. But she knew there was a proper order. First, Kale needed to awaken fully. Then, maybe he could answer her questions. Can you move fully? She asked cautiously. Kale flexed his knees and shoulders. Partially. My systems are stabilizing. Stasis leaves the body, stiff to... But I can walk. Lyra stepped back, giving him space. He took a slow, deliberate step, testing the balance of his armor. The suit shifted with him. Mechanical joints worry softly. Each movement was precise, purposeful, honed over centuries of training and experience. You are skilled, Lyra said. Even in this state, your movements, they are human. Kale paused. Skill remains even when the body sleeps. Muscle memory training. Experience, but I need more time. And information. Lyra nodded. Then we start with information. I can tell you what happened after humans vanished. She paused, unsure where to begin. The galaxy changed. Aliens colonized worlds. Humans were thought extinct. My planet, this archive, is one of many places where humans became legends, stories, myths. Nobody believes they were real anymore. Kale absorbed the words quietly. His eyes scanned the chamber, noting its structure, its technology, its signs of age and decay. Extinct. Humans. Only myths? Then my awakening could change many things. Lyra shivered slightly. She had not considered the consequences. She had only thought about understanding him, learning about humanity. She had not imagined the galaxy noticing. Suddenly, the chamber's sensors beeped. A soft alarm, almost imperceptible. Lyra froze. Kale's visor scanned the room, red indicators flashing across its internal display. They know, Kale murmured. Lyra's heart raced. Know what? Kale's hand rose, pointing to the doorway. The signal, my armor. It emits a pulse when active. Certain forces scanners, military units, aliens may detect it. We are not alone. Lyra's mind spun. She had thought this planet was quiet, safe, abandoned. She had thought the only danger was in dusty records or old archives. Now, reality hit hard. Then, we need to move. Kale nodded. Yes. We need a safe location to stabilize me. Assess my systems, and plan. Staying here is too dangerous. Lyra's mind raced. Where can we go? Most of the city is controlled by alien authorities. They would not welcome you. Kale's gaze sharpened. Then we avoid them. I know a place. Lyra followed him cautiously as he led the way out of the chamber. Every step was careful, measured, alert. The corridor stretched before them, empty and silent, yet alive with the hum of the city above. She felt a shiver of excitement and fear. Humans, thought extinct, were walking again. And she was their first witness. They moved through the lower levels of the archive, passing halls of alien records, storage rooms filled with ancient machinery, and tunnels long forgotten by colonists. Kale's armor adapted to each surface, joints adjusting, sensors scanning, energy shielding, activating automatically. Lyra marveled at the sophistication. Humans, she thought, had always been clever. But this was beyond anything she had imagined. After a while, they reached a hidden maintenance bay. Rusted panels and old consoles covered the walls. Lyra flicked switches, activating lights and basic life support. Kale stepped inside and tested the systems. The room hummed softly, now stable and safe. "Here we can work," Lyra said, relief washing over her. "I have supplies, tools. I can help repair or stabilize your systems. But I need to understand more about you first." Kale lowered himself onto a reinforced bench. "I will tell you, but I must warn you. What I know may be difficult to believe." Lyra smiled faintly. "After finding you, I think I can believe almost anything." Kale's eyes darkened slightly. Humans were nearly destroyed. Centuries ago, a war spread across galaxies. We fought not just for survival, but for the protection of others. Most of my kind did not survive. Earth, humanity, thought extinct. I was placed in stasis to preserve what remained. My mission was to awaken when hope returned. Lyra listened, captivated. She had read fragments of wars, battles, and human bravery, but hearing it from a living human changed everything. His words carried weight, history, and emotion. "Hope?" she asked softly. Kale nodded. "Hope. If humans return, the galaxy may remember them. If humans return, the balance may change. But I cannot do it alone. I need allies. I need knowledge. And I need you." Lyra's pulse quickened. She had always dreamed of witnessing human courage, but she had never imagined being part of it. "Me? Why me?" "Because," Kale said, his voice steady, "you remember? You study. You preserve. And you are not afraid." Lyra felt warmth in her chest. Fear had been her constant companion, yet now it was replaced by determination. "Then, I will help you. Whatever you need." Kale stood slowly, testing his strength. "First, I must restore my systems fully. Then, we must move beyond this city. The world is not safe. Forces exist that will seek to stop me. To stop us." Lyra nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. "Then, we prepare. Tell me what you need." Hours passed as they worked together. Lyra repaired small circuits, recalibrated sensors, and studied the symbols etched into Kale's armor. Kale demonstrated strength, endurance, and skill, moving through tasks with precision and patience. Slowly, he began to speak more of his past, recounting battles, lost worlds, and missions forgotten by time. Each story painted humans not as myth, but as warriors, thinkers, protectors. As night fell over the city above, Lyra and Kale paused. The hidden bay was quiet, safe for the moment, but danger lingered beyond the walls. Lyra looked at Kale and realized something extraordinary. She was witnessing history come alive. Humans, thought extinct, had returned. And with them, hope for a future that many believed impossible. Kale looked at her, eyes sharp, voice calm. "Tomorrow, we leave this place. We move toward the beacon. The galaxy must know. Humanity still lives." Lyra swallowed hard, a mix of fear and excitement flooding her. "Then let's make sure they know we are here, together." And for the first time in centuries, humanity's pulse echoed again, not just in legends, but in reality. The first light of the planet's twin suns filtered through the cracked windows of the hidden maintenance bay. Dust particles floated lazily in the beams, highlighting the quiet stillness of the room. Lyra moved carefully among the scattered tools and data pads, her eyes occasionally flicking to Kale. He sat on the reinforced bench, fully upright now, adjusting small components on his armor with deft hands. The glow from his systems traced lines of light across the worn metal, revealing scratches, dents, and marks of battles long forgotten. Lyra marveled at the armor, not just its durability, but the knowledge, discipline, and human ingenuity built into every joint and plate. "You are remarkable," she said softly. Kale glanced at her, his expression unreadable. "Humans are remarkable. We endure. We adapt. Even when everything is lost, we survive. That is our nature." Lyra nodded slowly, feeling a mixture of awe and humility. "Then why did they vanish? Why is humanity gone from the galaxy?" Kale's eyes darkened as he recounted the story. "Long ago, a war spread across the stars. Humans fought not for conquest, but for protection of worlds, of species, of life itself. We were outnumbered, underestimated. Our enemies believed we could not endure. They were wrong. But despite our skill and courage, we were nearly destroyed. Earth fell. Colonies were abandoned. Most humans perished. Only a few were preserved in stasis, myself among them. That is why you believe humans are extinct. They are survivors. Lyra swallowed hard. The stories she had studied suddenly gained weight, life, and urgency. And now, you are awake, as Kale said simply. But awakening is only the first step. The galaxy has changed. Forces exist that will not welcome my presence. They will see me as a threat, not as proof of survival. Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. She had not fully understood the dangers. The archive was a quiet place, and she had assumed the city above would remain indifferent to their activities. Now she realized that any attempt to reveal Kale would draw attention. Then we must move carefully, she said. We need a plan. Kale's gaze swept the room. I know of a safe location, a place humans once used as a hidden base. It is abandoned now, but it contains resources, knowledge, and defenses. We will reach it. There, I can recover fully and plan our next steps. Lyra nodded. Lead the way. I will follow. They left the maintenance bay and moved through the lower corridors of the archive. Lyra kept a careful watch, noting every movement of shadows and listening for faint hums from security systems. Kale's armor adapted to each surface, his steps silent and deliberate. The city above is not safe, Kale said quietly. Alien authorities patrol regularly. They do not welcome anomalies. Lyra's mind raced. Then how do we get past them? Kale smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. With patience. With stealth? With knowledge? As they moved, Lyra noticed how Kale observed everything, the patterns of light. The sensors embedded in walls, the weak points in doors and panels. He was methodical, calculating, aware of danger long before it appeared. She realized that humans, even in legends, had always been like this, thinking, planning, adapting ours past as they navigated the winding corridors. They used old maintenance tunnels to bypass patrols and automated drones. At one point, they paused behind a large service panel as a security drone passed. Lyra held her breath, feeling her heart pound in her chest. Kale remained calm, almost serene, letting the drone move out of range before continuing. You move like a shadow, she whispered. Kale nodded. Training. Humans rely on observation and timing. Even when outnumbered, we find a way. Finally, they reached a side exit leading to an abandoned service elevator. Kale pressed a sequence of buttons on his armor, and the elevator's control panel lit up, responding to signals only he could produce. The metal doors groaned as they opened, revealing a shaft descending into darkness. Lyra hesitated. It's deep. Kale extended a hand. Trust me. It is safe. She took it, and together they stepped into the elevator. The machinery groaned to life, and the car descended slowly, shaking slightly with age. Lyra's thoughts raced. She was following a human warrior thought extinct into the unknown. The weight of history pressed against her chest. When the elevator reached its destination, they emerged into an old underground passage. The air smelled of damp stone and rusted metal. Kale scanned the space carefully, then nodded. This way. They followed the passage until it opened into a wide cavern. Lyra's eyes widened. The space had once been a human outpost, long abandoned, but still intact. Shelves of supplies, dormant machinery, and storage crates lined the walls. Old energy cells hummed faintly, waiting to be reactivated. This is incredible, Lyra breathed. Kale moved to the central console, his fingers tracing symbols etched into the control panel. Lights flickered as systems powered up, and holographic displays shimmered into existence. Here, we can stabilize me fully, Kale said. We can plan, and perhaps we can begin the process of reaching others. Lyra stepped closer, her curiosity overcoming her caution. Others? You mean there are more humans? Kale nodded. Some survived. Many were scattered across the galaxy. Some may still be in stasis. Some may be hidden among other species. If we can locate them, we can rebuild. Humanity can return. Lyra felt a spark of excitement. She had spent her life studying humans as myths, as stories of a long-lost species. Now, she stood in a hidden human base with a living warrior who spoke of revival, hope, and survival. But we are not alone, Kale said, his tone sharpening. Aliens, mercenaries, and others will detect the reactivation of my armor. They will come to stop us. To destroy the evidence of humanity's return. Lyra's stomach tightened. Then we must prepare. I can help with knowledge, with strategy. You with strength. Kale nodded. An uneasy alliance, but effective. We need each other. They spent the rest of the day organizing the outpost. Lyra repaired broken panels and activated dormant systems. While Kale tested his armor and the hidden weapons stored within the base, they worked in silence at first, then slowly began to exchange stories. Kale spoke of the battles humans had fought, the strategies they used, and the courage they displayed even when hope was fading. Lyra shared what she knew of human legends, myths, and the fragments of history she had uncovered. Each story reinforced the other, building a sense of trust and camaraderie. By nightfall, the base was fully operational. Lights glowed softly along the walls, machines hummed steadily, and the armor systems in Kale's suit were stabilized. Lyra and Kale stood together at the central console, staring at the holographic maps displayed before them. The beacon, Kale said quietly, pointing to a distant star system. It is still functional. Humans once used it to communicate across galaxies. If we can reach it and activate it, others will know we are alive. But doing so will draw attention. We will face dangers we cannot yet imagine. Lyra felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with fear. Then we must be ready. Together. Kale turned to her, eyes serious. The galaxy does not expect humans. They believe we are extinct. That gives us an advantage. But it also makes every move critical. One mistake, and it could be over before it begins. Lyra nodded. Then we move carefully, step by step, and we trust each other. Kale studied her for a moment, then allowed a faint smile. Agreed. Uneasy alliance. For survival, for hope, for humanity. As the twin suns set over the distant horizon, casting long shadows through the cavern, Lyra realized that life as she knew it had changed forever. She was no longer just an archivist of history. She was now part of Ida Witness, a partner, and perhaps a guardian of the rebirth of humanity. The night was silent, but outside, the galaxy waited. Forces that had forgotten humans would soon remember, and when they did, humanity would not be gone. Humanity would fight back. The hidden base was quiet, yet alive with a low hum of machinery and faint pulses from Kale's armor. Outside, the alien city lay dormant under the light of twin suns. Unaware that history was being rewritten beneath its surface, Lyra moved among the control panels, her fingers tracing the symbols etched into ancient consoles. She had never imagined she would be here not as an observer, but as a participant in humanity's return. Kale stood at the entrance, scanning the cavern with precise movements. We leave at first light, he said, voice calm but firm. The beacon must be activated. Others will know humans survive, but we will not be welcomed easily, Lyra nodded. Then we move carefully. I can help navigate the terrain and avoid patrols. Your armor will help if things go wrong. Kale's visor tilted slightly, revealing a faint, approving look. Humans survive through planning, observation, and adaptability. You understand that already. They spent the night preparing. Lyra mapped out routes across the alien-controlled city, identifying areas with minimal patrols and hidden passages. Kale checked his armor systems, weapons, and sensors, ensuring he could move swiftly and silently. Each of them was aware that failure could be catastrophic, not just for them, but for the hope of humanity itself. At first light, they moved. Stepping into the dusty streets, Lyra's heart pounded. She had walked these roads countless times, studying them as an archivist, But today, every shadow, every movement felt alive with danger. Kale moved beside her with fluid precision, his armor adjusting to uneven surfaces, scanning for threats and activating low-level energy shields. "The patrols are light this morning," Lyra whispered. "We have a window." Kale nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "Then we use it." They navigated the city using back alleys, maintenance tunnels, and abandoned service corridors. Occasionally, they paused as sensors detected distant patrol drones. Kale's hand signaled her to stay low or move silently. Lyra followed without question, amazed at his instincts and discipline. Humans had survived against impossible odds before she was beginning to understand how. After hours of careful movement, they reached the edge of the city. Beyond lay open plains, barren and rough, dotted with strange alien structures and remnants of long-forgotten technology. In the distance, a tower of gleaming metal rose from the landscape, the human beacon. "There it is," Kale said quietly, voice filled with awe and determination. "It has been dormant for centuries, but it is still functional. We must reach it before anyone else detects us." Lyra felt her pulse quicken. The beacon was humanity's hope, a signal that could awaken other survivors scattered across the galaxy. But activating it would be dangerous. They were not alone. Forces that had long forgotten humans would react swiftly as they crossed the plains. The ground vibrated faintly beneath their feet. Lyra glanced around, her eyes narrowing. Movement. Sensors detect activity. Kale crouched, scanning the horizon with advanced optics in his helmet. Alien patrols, mercenaries, they have detected anomalies in the city. They are moving to investigate. We must be swift. Lyra swallowed hard. She had studied alien tactics for years, but now, seeing it in action, she realized the danger was real. "Then we move fast," she said, determination replacing fear. They broke into a run, navigating between ruined buildings and craters, avoiding open spaces as much as possible. Kale's armor absorbed small debris impacts, his sensors guiding them past threats. Lyra followed closely, relying on his lead, feeling both terrified and exhilarated. Humans, she thought, had survived because they were clever, adaptable, and unafraid to act when necessary. Kale embodied all of that. Halfway across the plains, they encountered the first obstacle, a patrol drone hovering silently above a crater, its sensors scanning. Lyra froze, but Kale's hand gently pressed her shoulder, signaling her to move. He activated a low-frequency pulse from his armor, disrupting the drone's sensors for a few crucial seconds. They slipped past unnoticed. "That was incredible," Lyra whispered, catching her breath. Kale nodded briefly. "It is survival. Timing, knowledge, action. That is human strength." The beacon grew closer, its gleaming metal tower standing tall against the horizon. But as they approached, Lyra noticed movement near its base. A small squad of alien mercenaries, armed and alert, were stationed around the perimeter. Kale crouched, analyzing their patterns. "They are guarding it. We must distract them. I cannot fight all of them at once, not without drawing more attention. We need a plan." Lyra's mind raced. What if we use their patrols against them? Lead them away. Create openings. Kale's visor scanned her quickly, a hint of approval in his eyes. "Good. We will create a diversion. You lead one group, I take the others." Using debris and old machinery, they set up a series of small disturbances. Lyra triggered them from a distance, drawing a portion of the mercenaries away from the beacon. Kale moved silently, using shadows and terrain to approach the remaining guards. His armor blended with the environment, his movements precise, calculated, and deadly if necessary, but he avoided lethal force. Focusing instead on stealth and intimidation, Lyra's heart pounded as she watched him. The legends of human warriors were true, she realized. Humans were not just strong. They were strategic, intelligent, and adaptable. Kale embodied centuries of skill and training, honed to perfection. Finally, the way to the beacon was clear. Lyra and Kale approached together, cautious but determined. The tower was massive, covered in alien dust and weathered by time, yet it still pulsed faintly with dormant energy. Kale's fingers traced symbols on the control panel. Lights flickered, systems hummed, the air seemed to vibrate with potential. "We activate it now," Kale said quietly. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Together, Kale placed his hand on the panel, followed by Lyra's. The beacon roared to life, energy coursing through its circuits, and a beam of light shot into the sky. The signal began transmitting across the galaxy, a call to any surviving humans, a message that humanity still existed. For a moment, silence fell. Then, distant vibration ships responding to the beacon began to ripple across the plains. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's working. It's really working." Kale's gaze swept the horizon. "Yes, but we are not safe yet. The signal will attract attention, both friend and foe. We must prepare for what comes next." Before they could move, the ground trembled violently. Alien ships, drawn by the beacon, appeared on the horizon. Mercenaries, alerted by the activation, were closing in. Lyra's heart raced. This was the danger Kale had warned about. The galaxy was responding to humanity's return. Kale moved swiftly, pulling Lyra behind cover. "Stay low. Trust me." The alien forces advanced, scanning, firing, and coordinating. But Kale was ready. He used every advantaged terrain, shadows, technology, to keep them at bay. Lyra watched in awe as he moved like a force of nature, not just a warrior, but a master of strategy. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and now, once again, one stood against overwhelming forces. Lyra felt a surge of determination. She could not fight like Kale, but she could support him, assist him, and ensure the beacon remained active. Together, they held their ground, combining intellect, courage, and adaptability. As the first wave of mercenaries retreated, Lyra realized something extraordinary. Humanity, thought extinct, was fighting back. Not just through Kale, but through the hope, courage, and resilience he represented. The beacon had not just called to humans, it had awakened the possibility that humans could return stronger, smarter, and united. Kale turned to Lyra, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "We have made the first step, but the journey is only beginning. Others will come, allies and enemies alike. We must be ready." Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Then we prepare. We fight. We survive together." The beacon pulsed, sending its signal across the stars. And for the first time in centuries, humanity's presence echoed in the galaxy, not as myths, not as legends, but as a living fighting force ready to reclaim its place among the stars. The glow from the beacon still bathed the plains in soft light, a beacon of hope piercing the alien skyline. Lyra stood beside Kale, her chest tight with excitement and fear. The signal they had activated was reaching across the stars, sending a message to all surviving humans scattered throughout the galaxy. Humanity was alive. Humanity was returning. Kale adjusted his armor, scanning the horizon with practiced precision. "They will come," he said. "Some will be allies, others will see humans as a threat. We must be prepared." Lyra nodded. "I understand, but I feel hopeful. For the first time, humans are not just stories. They are real, and they can fight back." Kale's eyes softened as he looked at her. "You have helped more than you realize. Knowledge, courage, ingenuity. Humans survive because of those qualities, and you embody them." The plains trembled faintly as distant ships appeared on the horizon. Lyra's eyes widened. "They're coming." From the darkness, small craft emerged, sleek and fast, moving toward the beacon. Lyra felt her heart race. "Humans?" she asked breathlessly. Kale nodded. "Some survivors, others may be scouts or explorers. We will know soon." As the ships drew closer, Lyra could make out figures moving inside them, humans. Some were armored like Kale, while others wore simpler suits, carrying tools and weapons. The centuries of isolation had not diminished their spirit. Their eyes were sharp, their movements purposeful, their presence commanding. Lyra's chest swelled with pride and awe. Humans, thought lost forever, were returning not just to survive, but to reclaim their place in the galaxy. The ships landed cautiously, dispersing across the plains. Humans emerged, cautious but confident, their eyes scanning the environment. Kale stepped forward, his armor gleaming in the beacon's light. "I am Kale," he called. "A human survivor. You are not alone. Humanity endures." The humans paused, recognizing him instantly. Some nodded, others lowered their weapons in respect, and a few approached cautiously, seeking confirmation of his identity. Lyra watched in awe as Kale greeted each one with calm authority, explaining their mission, their dangers, and the importance of the beacon. One of the newcomers, a tall man with silvered hair and a battle-worn uniform, stepped forward. "Kale, we thought you were lost. We followed the beacon's signal and found you. Humanity is grateful you survived." Kale nodded solemnly. "We have survived, but our task is just beginning. The galaxy has changed. We must rebuild. We must be strong, and we must protect those who cannot protect themselves." Lyra felt a chill run through her. She had imagined humanity returning, but seeing it in person, living, breathing, determined was far more powerful than anything she could have anticipated. Humans were not weak or passive. They were warriors, thinkers, leaders. They were capable of shaping the future. The newcomers began setting up temporary shelters, checking systems, and preparing supplies. Lyra moved among them, helping with logistics, sharing knowledge of the planet and the alien systems. Kale coordinated defenses, ensuring the humans were safe while the beacon continued to transmit their signal across the galaxy. Hours passed, and the sun began to set over the plains. Lyra and Kale stood atop a ridge, overlooking the activity below. "They're organized," Lyra said quietly. "Even after all this time, humans know how to survive, how to lead, how to adapt." Kale's eyes scanned the horizon. "That is our nature. We endure because we are clever, resourceful, and united. We survive because we fight when others give up. We rebuild when others collapse. Humanity never truly disappears." Lyra smiled faintly. "I always believed that, even when the records were incomplete. Now, I see it for myself." Kale turned to her, a faint smile on his face. "You have been part of this too. Your courage, knowledge, and determination have helped us reach this point. You are part of humanity's rebirth, even if you are not human by birth." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. For centuries, humans had been stories, myths, shadows in the galaxy's memory. Now, they were real again, living proof that hope could endure even against impossible odds. Suddenly, sensors on Kale's armor beeped faintly. "Movement," he said, voice calm but alert. "Other ships approach. We must be prepared for both allies and threats." Lyra followed his gaze, seeing more vessels on the horizon. Some carried humans responding to the beacon, while others belonged to alien forces, curious or hostile. The galaxy was awakening to the news that humans had returned. Reactions would be swift. Kale activated defensive shields around the beacon and nearby human groups. "We cannot allow them to destroy hope. Not now." Lyra moved to assist with systems, helping to reinforce communications and shields. Her hands flew over the controls, guided by knowledge she had gathered over a lifetime. Together, she and Kale ensured the humans on the ground were protected. The first wave of alien scouts approached cautiously. Scanning, probing, testing defenses, Kale moved among the humans, directing them to optimal positions. Using both strategy and instinct honed over centuries of combat, Lyra watched, amazed at his leadership. Humans, even when few, could inspire and organize. That was their strength, as the alien scouts retreated after assessing the beacon's defenses. Kale turned to the gathered humans. "The galaxy knows we are alive, but the task ahead is greater. We will face challenges, enemies, and doubt. Yet we endure. We rebuild. And we fight for our future." Lyra felt tears well in her eyes. She had believed humans were extinct. She had spent her life studying myths, fragments, and half-forgotten stories. And now she stood among living humans, witnessing the dawn of a new era. The humans cheered softly, a sound filled with hope and determination. Lyra joined them, feeling part of something larger than herself. History was no longer a record of the past, it was being written before her eyes. Kale turned to her, voice quiet but filled with conviction. Lyra, humanity's story does not end here. It begins anew, and you will continue to help us, to chronicle this rebirth, and to ensure that hope endures. Lyra nodded, her heart full. I will. I promise. Night fell over the plains, but the beacon continued to shine, a glowing testament to humanity's resilience. Ships responded from distant systems, humans arriving one by one, bringing knowledge, resources, and courage. The galaxy had forgotten humans, but it would not forget them again. Lyra looked at Kale, then at the humans gathered below, and felt a surge of hope. Humans were not extinct. They were alive, strong, and ready to reclaim their place among the stars. Their survival was not just physical, it was cultural, intellectual, and moral. Humanity had returned, not as passive observers, but as leaders, warriors, and thinkers. Kale placed a hand on the beacon's console, activating a final signal sequence. Let the galaxy know, he said. Let them see that humanity endures. Let them remember. The light from the beacon intensified, sending a clear, unbroken signal across the cosmos. Lyra felt the weight of centuries lift from her shoulders. Humans had returned. They had survived. And together, they would build a future stronger than any legend. The plains were quiet again, filled with the soft hum of technology, the chatter of humans, and the steady glow of the beacon. Lyra looked at Kale, standing tall in his armor, a living symbol of humanity's strength. Kale, she said softly, they're coming. All those who survived, they'll join us. Humanity will rise again. He nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon, calm and resolute. Yes, and when they do, we will not just survive. We will thrive. We will lead. We will show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Lyra smiled, feeling a deep, abiding sense of hope. The past was no longer a memory. The future was alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities. Humanity had returned on this time. Nothing could stop them. As the twin suns rose once more, bathing the plains in golden light, Lyra realized the truth she had always sensed. Humans were never truly gone. They had endured. They had returned. And the galaxy would never forget them again. For the first time in centuries. Lyra saw humanity not as myth, not as legend, but as a living, breathing force, resilient, clever, and unstoppable. And at that moment, she knew that the best stories of humanity were not in the past. They were being written now. In real time, by humans themselves.